Hey, welcome back to the channel. Good to see you again. Hope you're all well. Thanks for joining. Today on the bench I have the second part of the trio, the Pioneer trio that I received from a client's seller, and this is how it arrived at my house. It's a CT-8R. Obviously you can read it. It's in big enough letters. This is a cassette deck, and I haven't even opened this up to have a look at it yet, so let's do that ourselves here. Now, I'm saving the best for last, and the best for last is going to be the receiver itself. I already did the, oh, look at that. I already did the Pioneer turntable, the PL8, as in the last video, so let's have a look at this. And it's upside down, of course. Okay, let me unwrap this and get it out of the box. Alright, here it is, out of the box. This is the CT-8R. I remember this when Pioneer went to this style of design. They had a whole line of equipment with the amplifier tuners with the dark stripe down the middle. This one's in very nice condition. Now, when the owner dropped it off, or the previous owner dropped it off, he said it probably needs belts. Otherwise it was a working, functioning deck. And I can look inside here. I can see the capstans are pretty dirty. Need a good cleaning. It's got full logic control, auto reverse, digital peak meters, and lots of other stuff here going on. Dolby. Let's see here. Tape monitor. It's the 3-head deck. Dolby B and C. So it's fairly well optioned out. So let's have a look at. Let's take the lid off and have a look inside before I plug it in and have it. Okay, so the top has lots of ventilation, which is kind of unusual for a cassette deck. Usually you see the cassette decks enclosed and they don't have any ventilation at all because they're such low power users. But this one might be a beast and it might be taking a lot of power. It looks good. Now you can see we got a lot going on here. We've got a big massive power transformer, power supply. Yes, it does consume a lot of power from the looks of everything. We've got a lot going on here. We got a lot of circuitry. On this side it looks like it's all logic control. We got some big chips here, 4 big chips, and we've got boards underneath. It probably looks like audio boards. We got Syscon here. This is Syscon, and this is probably drive control, power supply. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of circuitry and a lot of complicated stuff. And this is typical of the early solenoid control logic decks that had soft touch buttons. They didn't have the dedicated chip sets out yet for these things, and a lot of this was done with using the Jelly Bean logic, like the CMOS, and so there's a lot more to it. It's an early version of it, let's say. We have, I can see right here, right now, we got 2 direct drive motors for the capstans, or not the capstans, but the reel motors, the reel tables, and we got 2 direct drive motors there, and I got a direct drive motor down there for one of the capstans, and I believe I can see another direct drive motor on this side as well. There's one here and one here, so it probably has 4 direct drive motors, and that would explain a lot of the complexity of this thing. Yeah, it's looks like it's a well-built unit, and it looks like, I'm not sure. Let me see here. Yes, this is probably one of the earliest metal decks that use metal tape formulations, because it has the sensors here on the top of the for the cassette shell. It senses which if it's chromium or if it's metal. These sensors here, these switches. Let's have a look at the front. This is the cassette bay here. Takes up a third of the unit. Power switches in a kind of a weird spot, but I guess they didn't want to cut up these clean lines on the sides. Tape counter, auto reverse, tape direction indicator. So we got 6 LEDs, and this will go according to how its direction is playing. Music skip, music repeat, recording mode. Some LEDs here for how it's set up to record. Normal chromium metal. Auto BLE, I've never heard of that before. Auto data. Dolby type C and B. Switches for that. Your peak level meters, and here's your function buttons. Fast forward, rewind, auto reverse, play, stop. Auto BLE again here, I don't know what this is. I'd have to read up on that. Music scan skip, index scan, music repeat. So this can do some fancy stuff with searching out songs. Pause, record, record mute, and then you have a switch for timer, record or play. There's a mode switch for how it plays back tapes. Continuous, plays one side at a time, plays one side then the other, or continuously plays both sides. Output pot and input pot, and a tape monitor switch. So yeah, it's nicely featured. Let's have a look at the back. Not much going on here. Inputs, outputs, and this is a DIN connector for remote control. Must have been an option. Specifies 50 watts, so that's a lot of power to be sucking for a cassette deck. Usually cassette decks are around under 20 watts. There's not much to a cassette deck. You think about it, it's just a record amp or playback amp and the motor, and that's pretty much it. So I loaded a cassette. When I first turned the power on, it made kind of a weird squealing noise that lasted for maybe a few seconds, and then it stopped. So I got a cassette loaded here. Let's see what it can do. Let's turn the power back on. It looks like we have power on all our circuits. Let's try play. It's not what I wanted. I wanted to play, not to fast forward. Let's go flat play again. Yeah, there's something wrong with this thing. Rewind. Let's fast forward, rewind. I wonder if maybe my lights are screwing up with some optical sensors. Let's try it again. Play. I'll reverse. And that doesn't work. Stop. Play. Got nothing. Fast forward. Rewind. Let's just take this right to the end. And it stops. Okay. Play. It does not want to play. It does not want to play at all. Okay, so we got a problem with the capstan, loading of the heads and the capstan rollers. Now, considering we got all direct drive motors here, when I first tried this out, it didn't want to turn. It didn't seem to have any torque. So now it seems to have a little bit more torque. I'm just wondering if maybe that's just dried up grease in the motors. But see, like here, we got nothing. Try this. Turn off all this other stuff. Auto. It's kind of having a mind of its own here. Okay, play. No, it just does not want to play. Okay, so we got our work cut out for us. Now after I did a little bit of testing, I cannot get the cassette to eject. I think the heads are partially up in their loaded position. That's probably the reason why this will not just fall forward and let the cassette free. So I'm not going to force anything right at this point. I just have a feeling this is a messed up mechanism. Let's turn it on again and try it. Yeah, we definitely got a problem with the mechanism itself. So I was right, this is a power hog. So here, I'll show you. I'll turn it on, and we're at around 21 watts. That's at idle. Let's hit play. Goes up to 30, 32. And when you hear that squealing like that, that's the reels. They need lubrication. Let's try a rewind. Seems to be okay. This plays really. Yeah. Okay, so I was able to get the jam cassette out of the mechanism. What I had to do was remove the front cover, and this just snaps on. And then from there I had access under here. I could pull the head assembly down, and that disengaged it from the cassette shell. And then from there it was able to press the eject and get it to eject the cassette. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Let me zoom in and have a good look at this. Okay, so you can see the head there in the center, and it's halfway through a revolution. It does a 180-degree flip to do it on a reverse, and it looks like it got jammed in the rotation, halfway in the rotation there. I don't know if I'm able to manipulate this head. I don't want to break anything, so I'm not going to. So I had a look in the service manual. And yes, this does have a belt, and I'll tell you what it does. There is a direct drive motor here for this capstan. And this is the one that was spinning when I had it powered up. But from this capstan to this capstan, there is a belt drive, and I have a feeling that belt is gone kaput. So what I need to do is get this entire mechanism out of the machine, out of the deck, and so we can get it on the bench and have a good look at it. So I'll work on that next. I think I got a couple screws up top here. Let's see here. I got one screw here, here, 4 screws, and I think I have a couple back here. And that should allow me to take the drive mechanism out of the deck. And I think I have to remove the cassette tray as well, because I think it's going to bind. Okay, let me work on that and get it apart. There's really nothing in the service manual on how to disassemble this thing. There's just page after page of tiny diagrams and schematics. And it's a very complicated deck, and let's see if we can get this thing running again. Okay, I kind of cleaned it up with some alcohol. Now it's time to figure out a belt here. And the service manual shows a diagram of the belt. So this is the motor, this is the flywheel, and actually this is shown in inverse, shows from the front, and I'm looking at from the back. So the belt will come from the idler. It'll go all the way across the top, down under here, over the top of this one, and then back to the idler. So I think about a 9-inch belt will probably do it. This is a 9.5 or so. Let's see how this one fits. And then we can adjust it from there. Looks like it's going to fit pretty good. Get it across. Get it to cooperate. I got a flip in it. Okay, hang on. Where is... There we go. Okay. So that looks all right there. A little bit tight. No, it's not bad actually. I am going to stick with this one, I think. Okay, so let's take everything apart here and lubricate it, and then we'll put it all back together. So I have flywheel, motor. Let's take this one apart and lubricate it. Probably doesn't need it, but we're going to do it anyway since we're in here. So how do we have to get this? Is this a, yes, it is a split washer. Okay, perfect. Still a little dirty. Make sure it's clean. Need another Q-tip. Okay. Perfect. Okay, put this split washer back on. There. Now we have the flywheel. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll lubricate the bottom half of the shaft. I just don't want to get lube on the tip, because when it pushes through, it'll smear it with... Well, you know what? I already screwed up. Yes, there was a spring on here. Okay, let me clean this off again. Okay. Let's do this again. Spring on. Now this one didn't have a spring or anything. It didn't have any washers, any spring. So I'm just going to put it together. Pretty sure there was nothing. Okay. Lubricate this one. Okay, belt. Let me go wash my hands. I got grease on them. So this belt measures out at, let's see here. I just picked it out of a pile. It says 9.5 inches. Now it seems like it could be maybe a little longer, like maybe a 9.7. But I think this 9.5 will work. Okay. Yeah, come on, cooperate. Yeah, see how it's just a little bit, I think maybe half an inch. This one will work fine. Maybe it's too tight. No, I think it's going to be all right. I'll leave it at 9.5. I do have 9.7. Let me see it. Let me fit a 9.7 and see how that one fits. Okay, here's a 9.7. I have a feeling this one's going to fit just a little better than the last one. Okay. Yeah, I think this one's better. There's not as much stretch. You don't want any stretch on a belt. You just want it tight enough so that it's not going to slip. There's lots of torque there. Okay, and leave it at that. A couple of caps here. I'm going to check for ESR. Since we got it out, might as well. I don't expect them to be bad, but we're going to check them anyway. So this one here is 1.6. That's good. That one's good. There's a couple more here. 1.3, 5.6. And what is this? Oh, it's a 0.47 at 50 volts. Yeah, so it's good. Everything's good. Oh, look, they added a ground wire for this chip. Let's make sure these are tight. Oh, we've got one here I missed. 6.5, and that's a 0.47 microfarad as well. Everything else is good. Measure this one. 0.65. 0.47 again. Okay, last thing I want to do is check these 4 switches, because if we have high contact resistance on any of these, it's going to mess up our flow. So let me just check these with my meter. This one's reading about 30 ohms, which is not good. Yeah, 45 ohms. It's not good. We have to clean these switches. 23 ohms, not good. (13.7, 6 ohms. That one's actually the best of the bunch. 10 ohms. It's still not good enough. Let's try the last one. 19. Yeah, 60 ohms. So, okay, I'm going to remove these 4 switches and I'm going to clean them with deoxit. It doesn't look like I can open them up. They're sealed with molten plastic. But what I'll do is I'll take them out, deox them, manipulate them, and get them to work so that they have a low contact resistance, and I'll put them back in. Okay, I got everything reassembled again. The belt is in, and put everything back together. Look at this mechanism here, the head rotation. It seems to be working okay. I don't think it's sticking to any degree. It seems to be working fine. I'm just going to leave it alone for now. Gone through checked all the capacitors, looked at this. It's some kind of servo circuit here for one of the motors. And I don't see anything going on here at all. Everything looks fine. Didn't see any cracked solders. This board here, I did solder up this connector because it was looking kind of weak, and put those 4 switches back in. Ideally, the best thing to do would be replace those switches, but where would you find them? Because spraying cleaner into them doesn't really do much, not as much as it would normally, but hey, we do what we can here. These switches, we'll see how they perform. Let's have a close look at the heads first, and then we'll put this back together into the chassis. One thing I want to do with the rest of the unit is I want to go over the power supply first and check over that power supply, make sure everything's good 100% with that before we reassemble. So let's have a look at the heads first. Okay, so here's a look at the heads. I don't know if you can see them. We got this part here is the head portion. This part's just a blank piece of metal. So you got right and left. I don't know which is which, right or left. There's 2 channels here, and you can see down the middle here, you can see the head gap. See where the lines kind of where the lines kind of interrupted and displaced. See what it is you have laminations, steel laminations that are the core of the head, and then you have your gap, which is this gap right here, and then on the back side of the laminations you have your coil, and you can't see the coil because it's potted within the head assembly itself. Here's the other head, and you can clearly see the gap. You can see it there, that line that runs up and down. And looking at this head, it looks reasonably low hours. There's really not that much wear on it. There's some wear here on this side, and there's a few scratches and some wear on this side. This side looks okay. This side looks maybe a little damaged on the one channel, but overall I think these heads are pretty good. I don't think you can get much better than this for a 40-year-old set of heads. Another thing I want to have a look at here is the erase head, and I want to show you, it's kind of unique in itself. Let me see if I can get a focus on it here. Here's the erase head. Okay, so the portion on the bottom of the screen with the bar through the middle, that's the erase head. And let's see if I can get a focus on this. That's what's going to do the erasing, and it looks like it has 2 gaps, not just one. You got poles to the magnet, right? So the 2 outside sections are one pole, and then the strip down the middle, that would be another pole of the magnet. Now the interesting thing about this erase head, if you look on the top hand side, you see this like window. You can't really, the camera doesn't pick it up, but it's a transparent window. It looks like it's glass, and it has those little air bubbles in there. And actually what that is a photo transistor that is set up to receive light from above. There's a little LED that shines light down, and this mechanism, what it does is it senses the end leader tapes, because the tape is not transparent, but when it comes to the end, the leader tape is transparent and light shines through it. So let me see if I can point to it here. Can't get my pen in here. Come from this way. Yeah, this part here is get my pen down there. This part here is a window. See, this part here is the head gap. Right here is the erase head, and this sense is kind of unique to Pioneer. They did this. I've never seen this before on any other decks where they use the light to sense the end of the tape, but here they're using it. Okay, so here we are. We got the mechanism back in the tape drive. Just want to test it, see if it's working. Have power. It's not particularly silent. Okay, it's working. So let's put this, give this a try. Play. I'll reverse. It's working normally. I'll show you. So we're in auto reverse right now. Let's. Oh, there we go. It's not working. Rewind. Fast forward. Stop. Now we got our head stuck halfway. We might have to address that head. Okay, let's try this one more time. Play. Auto reverse. Nope. Yeah, we're going to need to address this head. It is not making a full rotation. Okay. Stop this nonsense. Okay, I'll take it out again. It's only 6 screws, and it's easy. I didn't even plug it out. I didn't even connect all the heads, so everything's just hanging in here by a thread. I'll remove it. We'll work on the head mechanism, figure out why it's not doing the auto reverse properly. Seems like the head is getting stuck in one direction or another. It's working in one direction. And okay. Yeah, it only goes. If I help the head, it works. Okay. Okay, there could be a couple possibilities why this head is not engaging auto reverse back and forth smoothly. Probably the main reason, and probably what I think is going on here, is this has got some sticky grease in it, and if I manipulate the head mechanism, see how it's slow to turn? One way it turns quick, the other way it kind of hesitates, and there's not enough time. The mechanism doesn't allow enough time for the head to move into position. It's already gone into a play mode. This way it kind of snaps in, and this way it doesn't. You see how it snaps that way, and that way it takes its sweet time. So I think that's probably the main reason. The other reason is could be that the belt I put in is slipping. So let me pull this bracket off again. And I have a feeling the belt is probably slipping a little. See, if I hold There's quite a bit of slip on that belt. I'm just wondering if I clean it. Let me try cleaning it first. Because I did have greasy fingers when I was putting it all together, and it's not ideal to have any kind of grease or oil on the belt. Let's try cleaning this first. Okay, let's try. Yeah, I am getting dirt off of this thing, and it's a brand new belt too. Let me just try cleaning this and let it dry, and let's see. Oh yeah, that's much better. There's a lot more torque. The mechanism that flips the head back and forth is run off 2 gears. I believe each one has a gear, and I think that's what flips the plate back and forth here. Pull this out. See how slow it is to turn? Yeah. So, fix for that would be remove these 2 screws, but these are alignment screws too. They align the head azimuth. So removing these will definitely determine that you're going to need to do a full head alignment. But that's the only way to get this plastic retainer out. Once the plastic retainer is removed, this whole mechanism can come out, and then I should be able to clean the barrel in there and the outside and re-lubricate it. Let's try that right now. If I can find the right screwdriver, let's try this one. Okay. Now this plate holds it in place. Okay, now I should be able to remove this. It just snaps on. There we go. Now I should be able to move the head. It doesn't look like there's any grease in there though. Where's the sticky grease then? It's in here somewhere. Let me see this. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's sticky in the barrel here. Actually, it looks dry. Okay, so that wasn't it. So the mechanism down here must be sticking up. This sliding mechanism. Okay, let's I got this backwards now. I'm still one tooth off though. There we go. Align the head. Let me remove these wires. Get these out of the way. Okay, now let's remove the spring. Okay. It is definitely that gear, that sectored gear that is like sticking. This one here. You can feel it sticking. These wires out of the way. Now, how do I get that gear out? I just have to disassemble the whole assembly, which is not going to be fun. Let me remove this cover again. Get that out of the way, get this belt out of here. Now, I think I'm seeing something here. This plate let me remove this plate. Machine screw on the right, and that's self-tapping on the left. Let's remove the second plate. Self-tapper there as well. Now we got a ball bearing here, got to be careful of. Take this ball bearing out. That goes on the second plate. Yes. Okay. Got another ball bearing behind it. Just wondering if removing this door is going to help me. I think it will. Looks like the capstan rollers need to come off, and the door will need to come off, and that should give me full access to remove the head assembly. Because right now I'm locked down by these two. And to remove these two, I need to remove the door assembly, this cassette tray. And there's a screw here, one screw there, and one screw here buried. And then I think that will free up all of that. And I don't even need to remove both sides. I can remove one side here. I'm just trying to see. I think it might be better if I, well, this is permanently attached here. This side's not. So what I have to do is I'd have to remove this plate, these two screws, and then this whole mechanism, this whole side mechanism here will need to come off. Okay, let me put my thinking cap on here. Okay, so I got it all ripped apart here. I didn't film any of it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to film the parts where I relubricate and reassemble. How's that? Is that good enough? Now, I'm looking at this thing. There's a lot of areas where there's sliding going on right here on this thing. I haven't removed that. I'm not going to remove it either. There's a pivot here, and this slides on here. And then there's this piece. This is actually what transports the heads up and down. And there's a lot of sliding mechanism here, so this is all going to be cleaned. So let's try this right now. Let's clean this, and I'm just going to use LPS contact cleaner. Just remove all of the old lubricant. And let's clean off some of this as well. Okay. Now there's three things you need to pay attention to here. There's this roller that fell out of position. Let's clean underneath that roller. And there's two ball bearings. There's one here and one here. These are also lubricated. Let's get this one out. There we go. Okay, so we go. Okay, so this goes here. Let's lubricate these two ball bearings. Just a little dab will do. Okay, I need a rag, clean rag. All right. Okay. And this one here. Okay, so that's good for that. I think we're done here. Actually, no, let's put some lube on this. Okay. Some lube on here. Okay. I'm going to take a look under here. I'm going to lubricate this. Lubricate this. Right here. Okay. Now I want to do something with this thing. So let's pull this piece off and have a look at it. I think let's see where it slides on there. Right there, okay. And back here. Okay, let's get another Q-tip. Let's clean this slide area and this slide area. I don't think that needs lubrication. What I'm going to do is assemble this head back together, because I'm kind of wishing I never took it apart. So let's do this. Actually, no, I'll do it after. Let's put this back together. Okay, we need lubrication here. And here. Okay. There's no lube in here, which is fine. Okay, let's check this operation. Okay, that's good. Let's leave it like that. Let's install this clip. That'll keep the head in place. And then all I need to do is wrap the wires. Okay, we've got this together. I probably rubbed all the grease off already. Yes, I did. Let's put this back on. Let's connect the spring. Okay. Okay. Everything's normal there. Now let's lubricate the rest of this. We have sliding here. Ball bearing here. Ball bearing here. Let's put this back on. Next step. So the next step for me right now is put these reel motors back in. I think we're done with them being out. There we go. Okay. Just gotta make sure they're aligned properly. And I see everything's in place. Put the screws in for that. Alright, next step, we have the erase head. And we have 3 ball bearings. So let's clean this off. Three ball bearings go in these 3 pits. Okay, that's in place. I have this plate here, and there's a ball bearing that goes under in here in the center. So I have the ball bearing here. Can't really see here. Okay. That's correct. I'm just trying to see if I'm missing anything. I don't think so. Everything looks correct. Except I got wires pinched under here. And this is not seated properly. There we go. There we go. That's better. There. Fits a lot better. See, that's not the right screw. This is the correct screw. Okay, so how is this sitting now? Sitting down on all the ball bearings. Everything's functioning properly. Okay. Let me install this. Alright, next we have pinch rollers. Let's install this pinch roller. Spring goes under the latch, okay, and then I believe this has to go down to that point. There we go. There. Other side. Whoops, I gotta go up. There we go. Okay. I'll deal with the wires later. How does this work? This goes around. Okay, we'll deal with that later. Pinch rollers. Let me take some alcohol and clean these before I got them out. Okay, let's put this bracket on. This one goes on with the threaded machine screw on the right hand side. I don't know how this fits. This has to fit down. I'm going to bend it. There we go, just like that. This long screw here. And on this side we got a self-tapper. Okay. Two pinch rollers. We got one on this side. Okay, get our E-clip on. Where did the E-clip go? Okay, other side. Another E-clip. Okay. We're pretty much together now. I still need to reassemble the door. Okay, that's going to be tricky. And then I'll deal with these wires after. Seems like I have to, yeah, this is going to be tricky as all hell. So let's try this right now. So what I did is I removed half the door. I left this part. So this goes back together. The spring. Tighten it up after. This side fits into that pivot. Now, what do I do here? This is a mess. I didn't take it fully apart, so it shouldn't be that bad. Okay, there's one hole. There's the other. Let's get a screw in here and line this up. Okay, let's get another screw in. Leave it loose for now. This needs to be screwed down. Where is the mount for that? Is it? Figure that out in a bit. Oh, it's up here. Okay. This in position. Don't pinch any wires. There, right there. Okay. Where's the screw for this? Right here. Okay. Secured. This side is secured. This spring needs to go inside this channel, like that. Now I took one screw out here, and I can see I need to put it back. Let me find the screw. Okay, and there's a screw down here too, this that I removed. Okay, pretty much have it all together now. Let's check this. Oops, something is in the way here. Okay, so this goes like this. What is holding here? Okay. Alright, everything's good so far. I think the last step, one of the last steps here is put on this plate. Screw that in place. And then there's a screw for this side. Let me hunt it down. There it is. Okay, everything that's left to do is to tie these wires down. Alright, I had some problems when I reassembled. I had the problems with the head not flipping around, doing the auto reverse cycling. Now, I took it all apart again, and I think I figured out what was wrong. I took the head assembly out of this little barrel and cleaned it well with some contact cleaner, and I cleaned out the inside of the barrel and cleaned the outside of the head assembly, and I lubricated it with some graphite, and believe it or not, it's working pretty slick now. It flips over, it doesn't hesitate, it doesn't drag. So considering that's fixed now, you can put it all back together, and then we can do the final adjustments and setup. Kind of pleased at the result here. Now the main tricky thing is you have to get these cables, these head cables, positioned correctly, otherwise they bind and get wrapped up on each other here. So I think I got it correct. Pretty sure I do, even though this one's longer. This one seems correct length, this one seems long. Oh, maybe not. No, they're both okay. I think they're both going to be all right. If there's any binding in these wires, it's going to affect the head rotation. Pretty sure I got it adjusted correctly. Okay, I'm going to reassemble this now. Okay, so I put the drive back into the chassis here. Just going to have a little test to see how it's working. Turn the power on. Let's try this. Play. Auto reverse. And the auto reverse is working. The head's flipping around properly. No issues. I'm going to do this a few times just to make sure nothing's binding up with the wires. Everything looks normal now. Okay. Alright, so I'll finish assembly and then we can work on doing the alignment of the head. I'm pleased with this because it was kind of a pain in the ass taking this whole mechanism apart. And let's try fast forward. Fast forward, rewind. Everything's working perfectly. The indicator's not moving. It's because I don't have a lot of things connected already, like these wires are just hanging. Okay, I'm just dialing in the heads for the Azimuth alignment and using my HP voltmeter here and just 3 kilohertz tone, and you just tweak the screw until you get a peak reading on my meter. Now when you're doing the auto reverse, you adjust the left screw. If you're doing the forward, you do the right screw, and these other screws don't need to be touched. That is the erase, and that is a guide head. So this is all dialed in now. I'm going to lock those screws with paint, and then we're going to do some testing. I was just about to wrap this up and close this one off, but I flipped it over and had a look, and yeah, there's cracks on these some of these joints, on these connectors. There's board connectors here, and this one's got cracks on it. This one had cracks, this one had cracks. So I'm just going to go through. I cleaned the board with alcohol, and I'm just going to go through and check them all, make sure that they're good. Don't want any surprises in the future. Check all these transistors too. There's some transistors here that look like they might have a dodgy connection or 3. Okay, so that's it for this one. Wrapped it up. A lot of work went into it. Needed a new belt, and then it needed servicing for the heads, the rotating head. It was getting sticky and it needed to be freed up. What else did I do? Checked a lot of caps, didn't find anything wrong with caps in this thing. I did find cracked solder joints though, and some dirty pots. I cleaned those as well. But everything's working good now. This is actually a pretty nice deck for Pioneer. This is one of their top of the line for, I think it was 82 or 83. I think they brought these out, and there's actually a CT-9R, which is one step up. I don't know, I can't imagine what more features it would have. It's pretty well decked out now, but yeah, it's a good deck. So I'll get this back. This is number 2 in the trio, and I'm saving the best for last. So coming up next will be the receiver, and you'll see that next week. So stay tuned for that, and until then, take care. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next one.